Tuesday afternoon, we do Jo. Wednesday morning, we do the accelerator.
We inspire each other.
I said, I'm gonna go over there and drop off my resume.
Quit school my senior year of college because I was on the wrong path.
Did produce something really magical. Never thought about, oh, right, what do I wanna do after?
So I like to start these interviews with a simple question. What is your current favorite song? I know it's a very difficult question, but.
I'm gonna cop out, all right?
It could be old. It could be old or everything, just like what you really like listening to right now.
Well, I mean, I just think that I was, frankly, I'm pretty pumped that you asked this question. I was emotionally moved whenever I found out Brian Wilson died. And I think God Only Knows is I know it's on top of mind, I think, with a lot of people right now, but it is absolutely just fantastic. And so I took whenever I found out he passed, I guess just a couple of days ago or whatever, and I just listened to I actually have Pet Sounds on vinyl and all that, and so I spent some time with that and just it was in the middle of the day and I was just listening to the record, and then my wife comes home and my kids come home and they're like, "Dad's mourning," and I was like, I just hate it sucks, that era of music is very, very important to me. It reminds me of childhood and all the things, and so it sucks to lose these guys, and so I'm gonna go with God Only Knows.
What about you, Wendy?
Oh, I have two. Well, I just went through the Bob Dylan Museum in Tulsa.
It's awesome. So
So
cool.
I can't stop playing Bob Dylan, A Complete Unknown, just listening to, I just put it on repeat at home if I'm working, Bob Dylan songs. And so that has been living with me for the last 2 weeks, just listening to all of his music and getting to go through and see what we have in Tulsa at the Archives Society.
Yeah.
And then Imagine Dragons' Thunder song that keeps pounding in my head. I don't know if it's my favorite song or not, but it is ringing in my ears, I'll say that.
Well, thank you. I'm here with Wendy Garrett and Christopher Hunt for their film Life Ballet. Before we get started, can you please give the people that are watching this interview a synopsis of what your film's about?
Go ahead, Wendy.
Okay.
I want you to.
Okay, so Life's Ballet is a portrait of a important dance figure and educator in Oklahoma by the name of Jo Rowan. She started the program at Oklahoma City University, where I'm a graduate of, a student of hers. But it is a film, really a poetic film about her life and how she influenced and encouraged us as performers to live out our dreams. And she kind of teaches us throughout the film that living out your passion and looking at life as complex and complicated as it can be, with a positive lens and a accurate, truthful lens, and just making your way through life and, living out your passion is how I would describe it.
Perfect. That kind of leads me into what I like to talk about most is the journey of creative people and how, especially when you're younger and stuff like that, I'm sure when you're older too, it gets really tough at times. And people like to talk about the very beginning and they like to talk about where they go. I'm very interested in the in-between era. So I did some research on both of you. So I kind of want to go through your guys' journeys a little bit. So we'll start with you, Wendy. So you started in theater and dance.
Yes.
And that quickly transitioned to being in casting and stuff like that. So I want to start there first. How was that transition to go from dance and then I want to do casting and stuff like that?
It's interesting because I do think of that as the most pivotal part of me coming out of the theater, because from age about 5 to 30, no, maybe let's say 5 to 28, whatever, somewhere between 25 and 30. All I wanted to do was dance. It's like, being an athlete, that you sort of have to commit your life to it. And so I never thought about, what do I want to do after the dancing? And so when I decided to stop dancing, living in New York, I had a friend that was working in casting and said, this might be something interesting. And so instead of going into theater casting, because I thought I'm going to come to the theater every day and thinking I should be auditioning, I went and worked on Law & Order because I don't consider myself a theatrical actress, more of a musical theater performer. And so I just thought I already knew the audition process and had the empathy of what actors are going through. So I thought it would be an interesting position to have, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was a hard gig to get. It was one of those things that I was like, okay, how do you get into this? Somebody said, well, yeah, you don't really. You just have to know someone.
Yeah.
So all I did was I was like, okay, I could call. I said, I'm going to go over there and drop off my resume and have them meet me and say hello and say, I don't know if this is something I would like to do, but I'd be willing to work for free Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoons. I can, I'm working as a waitress and, for the morning and afternoon shifts, I could come in and work. And they called me and said, I was like, sort mail, go get your coffee. I just want to get in the office and see if it's something I would like. Mm-hmm. And they called me the next day and I went in, and those women in that office are still my friends today.
Awesome.
And so you're there for 6 months and you're doing things for free, and then all of a sudden something opens up, you get the opportunity, and that's how I sort of moved into that. But I think that, part of that's Jo in my head saying, make things happen.
Yeah.
She always used to say, good luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So I think I got lucky.
Wow. So then I read that you went from that to Disney,
right.
Imagineering, and then you ended up back in Oklahoma,
right?
In Tulsa specifically. So that's kind of want to get into Christopher and how you met him through that journey. So you do Disney for a little bit, then you move here. And what made you want to start making movies? It is specifically Eddie and meeting Christopher at that point.
Yeah, it was, all those things sort of are more connected than you realize now that I look back on it. So when I was in LA working for Disney, I worked in a division called Imagineering, and we were doing a partnership with Cirque du Soleil. And we thought the mission was to create a new piece of entertainment that the world had not seen before. And so we hired a documentary crew to come in and film us for 2 years because we thought we were going to, be making something worth the behind-the-scenes documentary on, and got to know those filmmakers really well. What ended up is the two companies did produce something really magical, but the two, the governance got in the way, we'll say that, on how we were going to do this together. And so nothing ever came of it except for some really wonderful creative opportunities. And then I got to meet AJ and Nate, who were the filmmakers. And when I moved to Oklahoma, my friend AJ Schnock, who's a very well-known documentary filmmaker, called me and said, "What are you doing, Wendy?" I said, "Sitting in Oklahoma. I don't know what to do yet." Because I couldn't quite figure it out,
Yeah.
It's just like, it always takes me a little while when you move somewhere new. It's just like, okay, what am I going to do here? And he said, well, come help me with some documentary. He produces a documentary award show in New York. He said, we need a producer. Will you come do that? And so I did that for 2 years. Got to know the documentary film community. And AJ's like, you can do this, Wendy. You're a storyteller. Go find somebody that knows how to shoot. You don't have to know how to shoot. You can put things together in different ways. Everybody has a role on the team. Not everybody has to be able to do everything. And so I met Chris on a short film that we never did together. In an interview, we were interviewing each other or meeting each other, or I can't even remember exactly. And so that was, Chris had Eddie in his head and needed a producer, and it just worked out that it was something that we could do together.
Awesome. Okay, let's rewind back to you, Chris, and hear about you. So So I learned that you came out of college and were instantly into sound engineering.
You're good.
And then from sound engineering, you started to work with film composers.
I did.
And one question I have with that's so fascinating to me at my age is you worked on the Dora Explorer score.
I worked with the guys that wrote it, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. How was that experience?
It was amazing from the fact that I was a guy just trying to kind of figure out life. So I was 24-ish. And I'm going to go back just real quick.
100%, yeah.
Like, because the story, I don't know, I sense that your audience might be interested in like just the whole going for it thing. Which I think that's what I think we get along real. Wendy is a huge dreamer, and I think I am too in a way. And like we inspire each other that way. And so, I mean, just right off the bat, I mean, like it sounds super cliche, but if you are willing to put in some work, and then not only the work though, but like just being willing to just talk to people and do things, it kind of starts to, if you're patient with it, it starts to work itself out.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, well, I'm the nutcase that actually quit school my senior year of college because I was on the wrong path, and I did have enough wisdom, even though I was firmly an idiot, that I had enough wisdom to know that this is not what I wanted to do with life, and so I quit. And I was playing a lot of music at the time. I was in a decent band, and we had the opportunity to record some with a guy named Trent Bell here in Norman.
Okay.
And Trent is, I think, an amazing engineer. And he actually kind of inspired me. And I was like, oh, shit, I think I want to be an engineer. And so, not qualified probably, but I was thinking that's what I wanted to do. And so I found this school in Murfreesboro, Tennessee called Middle Tennessee State University, which has an amazing program for people who want to become music engineers. Nashville is right there. And it's a really great program. I was really inspired, and so I went and finished school in Tennessee and got a degree. And that was important for me. I'm not saying it's important for everyone, but it wasn't for me. I wanted to do it. And so I did it. And then the thing I loved about Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State specifically, was I had some professors there that was like, this one professor I had, I tell it to my kids often. He was like, you must be present to win. And so, again, it's changed a little bit. This was 20 years ago, but like, it was important for me to try and go to New York. It was important for her to be in LA and in New York. And so like I wanted to do it. And so they inspired me. And so I just like filled out like 100 applications to go be an intern. One happened to reply. And so I was like, sweet, I'm going to New York. And so I went and I was just in New York for a while. That's where I worked with this group called the Manhattan's Producer Alliance. And they was a group of composers there, and they were working on things for Nickelodeon and PBS, and Dora happened to be one. SpongeBob, I think, maybe was one. I can't remember.
Crazy.
But awesome. But anyway, so like but dude, I was like an intern. Yeah. But I was getting to like I was pressing buttons and I was making things happen. Yeah. And so like helping at least, I was very young. And so anyway, that's what I was doing up there. I did end up running out of money and got a little homesick and ended up coming back to Oklahoma. And that's whenever I decided I'd had a long history doing like broadcast journalism type stuff. Yeah. And like I'd worked with the camera before, and then doing audio editing, and it just started to blend a little bit. Like the muscles tended to be the same. And then through another pretty kind of long process, or at least it felt long to me, got into storytelling, at least trying, and then eventually got to where I could actually tell a story and do what we're doing now. But like that was the genesis of it all.
Yeah, I completely understand where you guys are coming from. It feels good to hear from other people, because I've struggled with the same things too. My goal is to be a music supervisor. That's my dream. Sick. So I've done many internships. Many haven't paid. Many haven't accepted. And do these gigs in here. And that's kind of why I'm here with a connection. So I got to do this. But So I want to move on. So we've done your individual journeys. Let's talk about Eddie, your first film working together. So how did that come to be?
That film came to be, I had a long history here in Oklahoma and watching Eddie's teams. And I was a fan of his. And so I had a mentor back in New York, who I would just chat with on the reg, and it was during that time, that growth period time, and he was finally like, Chris, you just need to like find a story that has national appeal in your own backyard. And those words really stuck with me. And so I began thinking about it, and Eddie had a story, at the very least. So at the time, he kept getting passed up for the Naismith Hall of Fame, and that got me riled. And I think that like one of the great purposes with documentary film is to try to raise attention to an issue. Okay, yeah. And so I'm not saying him getting passed up for the Naismith Hall of Fame is like, affecting the world too much, but it was an issue.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that ESPN was going to do the story because they could have done it. Mm-hmm. And I felt like nobody was going to tell this story except me. I don't know why I thought that. I just did.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was enough riled up. I was like, this has some appeal for not only people in Oklahoma, but for all over the country, college basketball fans. Just thought, listen, this is a real thing. And there is a bit of an injustice here because he was definitely deserving of being in there, and for whatever reason he wasn't. And so, that's how it got started. Fast forward a little bit, word of mouth. We had known each other, and I knew that I had to have a producer. This film was going to be way too big for me to just do by myself. You can't do something like that by yourself. It's a huge thing. And so, got her on board, got Wendy on board, and then we started to put together a team and going down the journey and figuring out, one, how are we going to raise money? How are we going to get the life rights? How are we going to do this, that, and other, to actually make a real movie. And so, that's how we started. And
awesome.
So we were side by side on that.
Yeah. And
from 2016.
16 to it premiered in
2020.
2020.
Unfortunately, it was COVID.
Yeah.
I know. That was terrible. Yeah. But we had a great experience because, with that film, because Eddie touched so many people's lives in the sports world, we got to interview a president.
Yeah. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Clinton, agreed, and we went down and spent, 2 hours with Jerry Jones.
It's nuts.
Wow. Yeah.
Calipari,
Bill Self. Dick Vitale.
We're
in Dick Vitale's house.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Who are we?
Dude, that's the thing with some of these films and whatever, these journeys. Imposter syndrome, dude, is a real thing. Oh.
You're always in a room with someone interesting. It's so cool.
Or you think, why me?
Yeah, why? Yeah. One of the things, because I don't want to spend too much time on Eddie, because I want to talk about your new film.
Yeah.
But one thing I really liked what you guys did with your documentaries. I watch a ton of music documentaries. They're my favorite thing. Nice. But what I really liked is when you showed a picture of Eddie, when he was young, there was a quote on every single one of those things. I thought that really was a interesting way to show something, because in documentaries I normally watch, it's just the image, and another image. Was that just we should do this, or was that a creative choice that you guys wanted to do?
So that was because a couple of things. All right. One, we sourced an oral history project that he did, and he was getting to the point where he was ill and started to lose the ability to speak. Mm. And so I didn't want to just I wanted to creatively make sure the audience could understand exactly what he was saying. And so I thought putting it on the screen was the best way to do that. And so sometimes good creative choices come because of
out of necessity
and limitation.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's kind of where that came from. We kind of do it here in this film as well. I'm a big fan of old school even like silent movies
Yeah.
and things like that. And so we did a little of that. We weren't doing quotes on screen like silent movie style, but with this film, you don't see a single talking head.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so, but we were able to kind of silent movie style their names. The artwork is a really flowing artwork that goes with this movie.
Right.
And so, so it's
We
just
use voices instead.
yeah, we use voices, and so like it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool. It's just different.
Yeah, it's
a
awesome,
little
yeah.
thing,
Yeah. So, okay. So now we're done with Eddie. So this that project ends. You guys work together. What is the bridge that put you together to do Life's Ballet and specifically Jo's story?
Well, let me just. She's gonna take it. But,
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned, Eddie comes out right at COVID.
Yeah.
And life is crazy for obviously everybody.
Yes.
Wendy, I can't remember what you did during COVID. I was lucky. ESPN was doing a thing with Oklahoma State football, and so they knew me through there.
Yeah.
And so I was with them during COVID, and that kept me to where I could eat. And then, and so there was like a year time passed.
I was
and then
working on narrative a project.
She
I
was working on a narrative,
Yeah.
And so then pick it up from where.
Okay,
we
then
were.
we actually did a film last year that showed here called The Accelerator.
Yeah, I have that in my notes. Yeah.
Jesus.
And Chris edited that, and I directed that.
Yeah.
So we did that in between.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But we were doing Jo at the same time.
Okay.
And so we were doing so for the last 2 years, we've been doing 2 films together.
Crazy.
So we would literally, because he was living in Oklahoma City and I was in Tulsa, so I would come stay at the National for a night or 2 nights. Tuesday afternoon we do Jo. Wednesday morning we do The Accelerator. Wednesday afternoon we do Jo. I mean, we had to sort of switch it, and it worked for us, but it was they couldn't be more different films. Nuclear.
Steve worked on the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
He was a physicist that worked with Oppenheimer, and then Jo and her.
So what made you want to tell this story? As you said, she was a teacher to you.
Right.
But like, what was like at this point in your life and like, okay, I need to tell this story?
I felt like somebody needed to do this for Jo.
Okay.
And I knew we could do a beautiful job. I was confident we could. But when you get in the middle of it, I'll be completely honest here. We cut the whole film about a year ago
Oh, wow.
in December. Remember, we watched it down with our editor.
Very much remember.
And we watched the whole thing, both kept our mouths shut, and then we got off the phone, and like probably about 15 seconds later, Chris calls me. He's like, "That's not the movie." I said, "I know." He said, "Who's going to tell Chad, our editor?" It's not that he didn't do anything wrong. We all put the movie together, but what we had to tell him was, "Do you have another 6 months? Because this is not the film." So as confident as we were that we could tell this story, we didn't get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so
We at least knew it.
yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah, that takes a lot of guts, right? Like to do something like that, to be like, oh, it's done. I know I've had my fair share of projects where it's done, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna let it be done. But it's like a big risk to do, like, to continue that too.
So if we're talking to like aspiring filmmakers, or just creators right now, some projects you do need to just go ahead and dump.
Put pencils down.
Put pencils down and go. Yeah. This one was not one of those. But there are, especially early in your career, I would say my advice would be, don't do what we did. Be done with it. It might suck, and then your next project's going to be way better.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, we luckily found a little bit of extra money and were able to do it, and then we went ahead and just kind of sucked it up and put our own time in, which is not easy. But so back to your original question is that we wanted to do it for Jo. We wanted to do it creatively. We got excited about the project because it could be a really beautiful film and something art forward. And we've been talking about Chris was really wanting to shoot on film, and I said, I think this is an opportunity to do that. Let's do that. So I think that helped us all, both of us, really stay committed to it.
Awesome. So kind of following up, So I think when you're creating something as a creative, you come out of each project learning something new about yourself and stuff like that. So this is a two-hander question. So first, I want to know what you personally learned about yourself after making this film. And second, what did editing and working with Jo's story teach you about yourself as well?
About myself. I won't say that I think what for me, I think this film probably reinforced a lot of philosophy. Joe's very philosophical. I think this film probably just reinforced a lot of those things. And specifically, I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record, but like specifically things just like going for it.
Yeah.
And trying to live life at its fullest. Some of the things that she says in the film, just I couldn't say it better myself, and I'm so happy it's in the movie because I just think it would be really nice if we were all able to live that way. And like it takes guts, and sometimes you can't. Timing has to be right and some things and all that. But like, man, if we really just like, I would say, especially for creatives, and Joe is a creative, just trust yourself and go for it. It's gonna work out and it's gonna be okay. I don't know. It sounds kind of cliche, but it's very inspiring.
Do you feel like you still struggle with that of trying to go for it? So hearing that reassurance kind of made you just ready to go out there and do it again?
I think he's getting better.
Yeah.
I do.
That's important, though.
No, I'm the one that is probably more optimistic than most. I am the true person that is like, hell yeah, we can do it. And then when we get in it, and it's like, oh gosh, we got to do this right. We can do it, but we're going to do it right. And so, but I think that I do think that with each film, you're like, hell yeah, I'm not going to doubt myself. I'm not going to doubt the project. And we'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah, just as long as you find people that supports you,
yeah,
and is willing to, if you're lucky enough to find that I think that it does make it a lot easier, because it can get real scary if you're by yourself.
Yeah, agreed.
And so, listen, there's not going to be anybody that comes in here and sits down in your chair and is like, tries to tell you that they're not scared or.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. By doing these. The two things I hear is like, I don't know how I was going to do this and stuff like that, but a community came in my life and they did it together.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard in every person that's come in here. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. It's a team, first and foremost. Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a small team, but it's still a team.
Yeah.
And so, I think that I still, there's still the stress of life and just like the stress of providing, doing some things. But like, shit, man, I think that, I guess I am a little bit more comfortable. I'm old now too, though, dude. Like, look at all that. Like, look at it comes a little bit with stage. Get a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
What did I learn? I think for me, I was a little nervous about just putting myself back into Jo's life. I know that sounds like a really strange thing to say, but at the very beginning of this, I was her student, and I hadn't seen her. I mean, I had certainly seen her, but I had not spent any time with her for 30 years, something like that. And I thought, wow. And Chris and I talk a lot about this too. When you sign on to a project, you need to realize it's going to be at least 2 years of your life, at least. And so that's a big decision, because I'd love to say yes to everything. But I think, and so that scared me at first, but it is the biggest reward to have this relationship with her now. in a really wonderful way that I think we both need. And she absolutely loves Chris. I always send him in to compromise if we need to get something specific, ask her for something that maybe she doesn't want to give us. We'll put Chris in there, and she still quotes it. There's a couple moments in the movie that she wanted us to take out. And I was talking to her on the phone the other day, and she's like, "Well, Chris was right. We had to keep that in. People liked it." I was like, "Yep, blame him."
Happy to do that.
Yeah. So what I'd like to end on every one of these interviews is the question of, you guys as filmmakers know that people see what's on screen, they see whatever type of film it is, it's what's on screen. But there's a ton of other people behind the scenes working on the project. So I would love for you guys to shout out those people that probably won't get recognized, they're just watching on the screen. So, and people that watched your film or haven't watched your film are going to come in here and hear it. So.
Yeah, so with this one, I think
Chad Walker,
yeah, Chad was the
editor and
editor
producer.
on the film. He's not here and definitely deserves a huge shout out because he put in just so much emotion and time into the project, working with our craziness.
He's definitely we're a stool here. He is definitely the third leg here.
Then
Composer,
who's based in Oklahoma City. His name is Aaron Newberry. He also composed the music for Eddie. I loved him so much in that experience, which was, and he really did a great job with the music on this one.
Yeah, that last song in the film.
It's such an important aspect of filmmaking.
It really is. He did a great job. Ty and Brandon at All Sweet helped us a little bit. They did a little bit of grip and electric for us. Dave Tester,
shot our formal interviews.
And we had a post house in Austin do the color for us.
TBD Post. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
Put a lot of just making sure everything looked good, sounded good, and made it all tight for us. Just put the polish on it, which we
And John Frost did our audio design out of LA, kind of all over the place here with this. OCU for sure.
Oh yeah, the people over there.
Everyone at OCU and the Ann Lacey School of American Dance and Arts Management, everybody there just opened the doors for us and let us do whatever we needed to do. Dean Melanie Shelley was absolutely a huge help for us. Obviously, Joe and John. And who else are we forgetting?
Our executive producers.
Oh, right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Chris Lawson with the Ann Lacey Foundation really helped us initially get this project started. And then John Williford, a former student, stepped in and he was an executive producer on the film as well. And then we had some students, including Kristen Chenoweth, who is in the film, give us some of her lend her voice, and some of her words really mean a lot in the movie.
Awesome. So if you guys could plug your movie and where they can follow you when it eventually comes out, they can watch it, please let the people know.
Okay. Chris, you want to go?
Cool. Well, you can come watch it here at DeadCenter. It's playing tomorrow, which is Sunday at 12:30, I believe, at Harkins Theater in Bricktown. I think it's like $10 to watch.
Yeah, right. You just come grab a ticket.
There will be tickets. It's at Harkins. It's a huge auditorium. So that's the very next thing. And then here in 2025, it'll continue down its festival run. I don't know which one we're going to next. Yeah. But it's going to do that. And then after that, that's the thing. Like all these films here, I don't know. We can't be the only one. We don't have distribution. That's part of the process here with the film festival. And so the distribution thing is going to happen probably late 2025, 2026. I would be speaking out of turn. I don't know where that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
It will.
But I don't know where.
Yeah, it'll be somewhere that people could stream it.
Yeah.
We hope to do some screenings too, maybe New York, LA, maybe another one here in Oklahoma City, and then in Tulsa after the film stuff. Just because there's a lot of students of hers that couldn't be here this weekend.
Sure.
That I have reached out, and so we'll make sure that it's available once we get off the festival circuit. It's going to be available for people to watch.
And so we've created a website, or we are kind of in process of creating
Life's
a website.
Ballet
It's Life's
Film.
Ballet
Film, yeah.
lifesballetfilm.com.
Okay,
And
I'll have it in the
just
description.
we'll just keep it updated
Yeah.
with screenings and how to watch and all that.
Perfect. Thank you guys for joining me.
You bet. Thank
Thank you
you.
for having
Appreciate
us.
it.